Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Webinar Wednesdays. This is Ron Cruz, the coordinator of the Caribe Refugee Program here in Hillsborough County Public School. I'm going to be your facilitator for today. We're going to be talking about the integration of technology into the ABE classroom. Before we begin, I'd like to talk to you about some housekeeping. If you have any questions, you can always go click on the Q&A tab at the bottom of your screen or at the top of your screen, wherever that tab is. Click on that Q&A. A screen will pop up where you can type your question, and then we will address the questions throughout the webinar. And we'll also pause every now and then to address some of your questions. This webinar is also recorded, so we will have the opportunity to view this again at a later time if you had to stop, or if you have to step out somewhere and you want to view something that you have missed. With that said, I'm just going to go ahead and begin today's webinar. Let's talk about our agenda for today. I'm going to go over some objectives, talk about the technology and why it's needed in our classroom. I'm going to review some of the guidelines, what is the law, and what are the frameworks out there for the use of technology in the classroom. How has the labor market has changed and how it's impacting the classroom now. I'm going to incorporate some of the CCRS standards in there as well to give us a little bit of a framework as to how we can integrate technology in the classroom. And then we're going to slowly shift into how we are going to integrate the technology in each individual subject areas, let's say ESOL, science, mathematics, social studies, etc. I'm going to give you a little bit of some guiding principles, some do's and don'ts in the use of technology in your classroom. For some of you that are hesitant to use technology or just simply venturing into technology, or you're one of those teachers who wanted to innovate in your classroom, I can give you some tips and tricks that you can use in that area. I'm going to go over some cool apps and websites and resources for you today, so feel free to jot down notes and visit these websites with me. I also encourage you to download the handouts page so that you can get all of the websites listed there where you can download all these pertinent information. And then I'm going to go over some technology resources that is available directly from the IPDE website. And then we're going to end the webinar. All right, so before I get into some things, I just wanted to kind of survey everyone and ask you a question. Why do you think it's important? You know, why is digital literacy important in our classroom? Not just digital literacy, but technology in general. Is it important to incorporate that in today's classrooms in adult education? If you have any strong information or strong comment or strong ideas or position with regards to the use of technology, I'd like to hear that now. Use your chat button or the Q&A button. I'm sorry, the Q&A button on the tab. You can click on that. Window will pop up. Just type your comment, your position, your suggestion immediately, and then I'll read them throughout this webinar, so we can kind of have some collaborative ideas that we can share as we move forward. Mr. Amaro said to keep in step with the changing market. Yes, that's correct. One of the things that I notice is that job application is not the same anymore. When you want to apply for McDonald's or you want to go to Publix and and apply to become a cashier or apply into produce, you have to sit in front of a computer. You have to type, fill out the application form in front of a computer. You must be able to either use the keyboard, the mouse, or even in some instances a touch screen where you have to be able to maneuver. Some of our students, especially students, maybe refugee students, maybe students from low-income families that do not have access to technology, this could be pretty challenging. Angela added here in our Q&A tab that according to her, it allows for more up-to-date information. That's correct. We live in the technology age where information is right in front of our fingertips. We can get information about something at a split second because we have smartphones. We have, even our students, majority of our students have their own smartphone, and each of their smartphones have their own data line, and they're able to download information, use Google, identify what music. Some apps would even solve an equation for them. So if we're not allowing our students to become a part of that technology age, then there's a big mismatch between what you're doing in the classroom and what's happening in the real world. So let's go ahead and talk about this technology and why it's important. One of the things that's driving the technology need in our classroom is WIOA. As you all know, this is the law of the land that pretty much dictates what we're supposed to do in adult education. We have to be strategic in the way we educate our adult learners. It has to have a systematic career pathway so that students are able to move through adult education at a faster pace and get them through economic mobility. One of the models for implementation of WIOA is the IET, otherwise known as the Integrated Education and Training Model. From our previous webinars, I've covered this in the past. We've talked about the Integrated Education and Training Model, and it has three major components. The first component is adult education and literacy, which what we already do as adult educators. The second component is workforce preparation. Again, this is an overlap between what we do and what they do in the career and technical world when they are in these career technical colleges. And then lastly, workforce training. This solely belongs to the career technical college and higher education. And that's all, it lists down all of the components that is associated with that category. Now, if you zoom in carefully under the middle portion of this model, under workforce preparation, do you see digital literacy skills? So right there, you can tell, okay, these are the things that has to be, these are the things that are important, you know, for students to acquire a combination of basic academic skills, critical thinking skills, digital literacy skills, self-management skills, including the competencies in utilizing resources, which includes technology resources, the use of a calculator, the use of a computer, the use of measuring devices, the use of any labor equipment. And then another thing is the using information, which includes information that you get from your smartphone, information that you research on the internet, information on print material, and then also working with others. So pretty much when you go into the workplace, you're really looking for teamwork with students. Can our students work in collaboration with other employees to become a part of that workforce? Understanding systems, which also includes technology, by the way, and then the skills necessary for them to transition into post-secondary. So all these other skills that are necessary, although also known as the employability skills. I'm going to show you, I have this video, I've shown this video in the past, but I just wanted to show a portion of this video, and then I'm going to pause it because some of you can view the previous webinars that I've done in the employability skills, but there is a portion in this video I'd like for you to see that just really emphasizes the need for technology in the classroom. So I'm going to go ahead and play the video, and then I'm going to stop it in the middle. Just want to give you a heads up. Once, you know, I don't want you to think that we're going to finish the video. It takes about 7 minutes for this video, and I don't want to take all of our webinar time. Okay, I just stopped that video and I just want you to get that first minute or so of the video to kind of emphasize what is happening in the labor market and how important it is for us educators to be in tune in what is happening in the labor market and what are the needs. You saw that the high number of youth that are unemployed, that are eligible to work, and also we kind of underscored the importance that there's also a high percentage of adults that are unemployed, and the reason for some of these, the reason that they're not employed is not because there's no jobs out there. The problem is they don't have the technological and technical skills for those jobs that are available. That's why they're not getting employed. They're not getting hired. They lack the necessary certification. They lack the necessary skills to demonstrate those skills during the employment hiring process. That's why they're not getting in these jobs. And think about it, based on this video, it says a lot of the jobs that are going to be created in the next 10 to 15 years have never been thought of yet. So we have to be prepared to this changing labor market. And as we are in adult ed, our performance is gauged primarily on how effective can we move students into economic mobility. And technology holds a key factor in that success. Now, the classroom also has changed. It's not just the workplace that's changed. The classroom has changed. Now we have so many classrooms, K-12 schools, that have a technology-rich environment. The reason why a lot of schools and a lot of classrooms are being retrofitted with technology equipment is because technology has become more cost-effective. They're less expensive nowadays. Now I can get a tablet, an 8-inch or a 10-inch tablet for merely half, $50. And before they used to cost like over $500-600. So competition is really driving the cost of technology down, and there's always a new product out there. So something new that comes out, they can't really price it so high because in about a couple of years, that technology material, that equipment is going to be obsolete. You know, I'm starting to hear conversations about the next iPhone, and it's really amazing how technology moves so quickly and how all of these new technologies are being integrated into our personal devices. Another thing that's become more popular is cloud storage. I know some of you are already using cloud storage. Where do you store these PDF files? Where do you store your curriculum? Are you saving your PowerPoint presentations? Where are you doing that? Are you still doing it on your thumb drive? Or do you have a OneDrive account? Or do you have a Dropbox account? There's a lot of free cloud storage out there that you can now utilize, and it allows you to access your material, your information, your lesson quickly. You can share it immediately to your student with a click of a button. So really, cloud storage has made, and it costs virtually nothing. Dropbox is free, you know. If you sign up for Apple, and if you have an Apple account, it automatically gives you 5 gigabytes of storage. That's a lot of storage. And then again, information expertise, education, and training has virtually become accessible through anywhere. There's how-to, there's do-it-yourself guides for virtually anything. If I wanted to learn how to bake a pineapple turnover, I just go to YouTube. I don't have to go and take culinary classes. I just go to YouTube and they have a video out there, and I probably could customize it the way I want it to taste, because YouTube videos give you not only the video, but you read through the comments, and all of these people that has viewed the video provides feedback, additional information, and it's, you know, sometimes I spend so much time reading these comments. Not only they're fun to read, they also enrich the experience of me watching a video. The classroom, again, is changing. Now, if you go into these technical colleges, if you go into these community colleges, when you go into these universities, Technology has really innovated the way students learn. They now collaborate through the cloud. There's less and less face-to-face meetings because they establish online communities. Blackboard has invaded the entire education technology world. There's now smart media application. There's social media has become a medium for certain teachers to conduct their lessons or to give homeworks to students. 3D printing is now becoming cheaper and cheaper. Like, think about it. 2-3 years ago, no one in our school can afford a 3D printer. It's very expensive. Now, 3D printers are virtually cost, very, very cheap. And, you just have to provide what type of material you use for printing. But literally, 3D printing has become very affordable for schools. And then we now have this movement, virtual reality, Google Chrome, Google Earth, all of these things is moving students into the virtual world. As you can see in this picture, this is somebody that's taking surgical technology and is now studying the human anatomy through this virtual imaging system that has made instruction much more hands-on and much more powerful for the student, because now the students can kind of touch, see, move, rotate. Those things, they cannot do that in the past because they're usually just looking at it through a book or maybe a poster or maybe a drawing that the teacher made. So technology has personalized education so much, and it made the teacher, it empowers the educator to cater to cater instruction to the personalized needs of the students. Cloud sharing and cloud collaboration is not just a tool between students and between the teacher and the student. It also has become a teacher-to-teacher collaboration tool. If I have, let's say, a difficult physics problem I could not solve, a student came up to me and I have no idea how to solve it if it's the first time I've seen the problem, I would go into this community of mathematicians and community of physicists, and I would share them their problem, because sometimes somebody out there has encountered a very similar problem, and then we get into discussing content. We talk about how we can teach this difficult concept to the students and make it more intuitive when they see these problems or when they encounter these problems. And then technology has also shifted to a more competency-based learning, where students are able to learn the skills at their own pace. Now, here's a question. You're an adult education teacher. You could be teaching GED, ABE, ESOL, credit class, you name it, okay? Well, okay, you know that you have to incorporate technology in your classroom, but what type of technology would you use? Where would you start? To what extent do you have to go in? How deep do you have to teach them computer science? You have to teach them the basic parts of the computer? Do you have to go in and talk about the motherboard and things like that? Is that really necessary? So I'd like to hear what your thoughts on this, and use your Q&A button to chat with me and talk to me about some of the things that may be something that you can, or your ideas on this question. I got a question here about somebody that works at the prison system, at the corrections, and that is a challenge because of internet connectivity. If you don't have internet, that's really a big problem. So I'm gonna give you some tips and tricks here, because sometimes you can transform technology and make it a little bit more low tech to kind of mimic what's happening in the online world in your classroom. And I'm gonna share with you as I go along and share some of these ideas that I have in here. So Miss Day, I will be I will be giving you some feedback on this, and hopefully you can use some. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot for for the prison system, but we are always thinking about you when we generate our workshops and we incorporate technology. We're always thinking about people that work at the prison system. What is the derivative of this strategy or this website that they can use? Maybe we can low tech it a bit so that you can use it, but we have something. I'll share that with you as we go along. Um, Miss Lynn responded here, talking about visual concepts. Yes, technology has made learning a lot more visual. Not just visual, but also kinesthetic, because students are now touching, rotating, moving things around, and exploring with their own hands. Yes, college and career readiness. Ms. Key just mentioned college and career readiness. Research. Now that we have the internet and we have information at our fingertips, research has become easier. Well, I wouldn't say that so much, because now the challenge is not finding information, but finding the right information. Is that, looking at what are the sources? Is this a trusted source? Is this, and then we get into plagiarism. How would students use that information? So I'm going to go over some do's and don'ts as you use the technology to enrich your classroom, but at the same time, guard against these other things, because with more technology, there is also more risk. But the good thing is, you use technology in your classroom and you use it well, then there's going to be a possibility of high returns for you. So thank you. Keep those comments coming. Let me know how this workshop is going out for you. All right, so let's move on to our next slide. So it's a good thing that Ms. Key just mentioned college and career readiness, because that's what I'm leading to. According to college and career readiness standards, technology must be incorporated in your daily instruction. However you can. You must be able to use a variety of technology tools. Those calculators is one of them. The cell phones that students have, they already have it out anyway, so might as well use it for classroom purposes. And then, of course, the computer. As you may know, students are taking that GED test, the TABE test. Some of your students that go on TABE online, they use the computer to take these tests. And if they don't know how to use a mouse or how to type on a keyboard or use a touchscreen, then they're already at a disadvantage in terms of these assessments. So let's look at it, because the good thing is our college and career readiness standards already comes with some technology standards incorporated in it. I wish there are more, but here are 4 that is already included in the adult ABE curriculum frameworks. So I'm going to give you a moment to just read through these standards. But as you're reading, I'm going to keep talking. So basically, these standards are really not the deepest you can go in the technology integration in your classroom. This is just to set the foundational skills that are really necessary for students. So basic keyboarding, just like I said, they need to know how to type and how to type fast, because if they type slow, they're already losing time, especially in the written constructed response of the GED test. Another thing that the standards emphasize is the use of a variety of documents. So research papers online, go to journals, scientific, technical papers, and have them practice reading those types of things. Resumes, online resumes. How can we create an online resume? Because right now I've got people applying for jobs and they're just texting a link to their online resume to the person interviewing them, and it goes straight into their smartphone or their tablet for easy viewing. Charts, tables. Do the students know how to look at these? We now have like 3-dimensional charts. Do they even know how to read those? because those have a lot of information embedded in them. But if students don't know how to read them, then they're not going to be successful. The use of, Miss Lynn just talked about research and college and career readiness. Yes, we use the internet primarily for looking up information. And when you say, okay, well, if you're asking a question, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? Well, maybe one of these three things: using Google, Bing, Yahoo. These three search engines help help the students locate and find information. Do they know how to use Google? Do you know all the capabilities of Bing? Because there's so many things that Google can do that you may not know. And I'm going to share those information with you. And then lastly, talking about the safe use, the legal use, and the responsible use of information that is found online. Because with that, when you go online, you want to make sure, are you in a secure connection? Because people can steal your information. And then the same thing as you may unknowingly be stealing information, property from another person or from another organization, and then putting it in and saying it as your own. So we need to teach our students these things so we guard them against these threats. So take a moment and read this technology poster that I have and see what you think about it. So this piece of photo that I included here in the PowerPoint talks about the do's and don'ts, okay? The do's and don'ts for technology, okay? And it's not really for kids. For us, it's for adults, because these apply for adults as well as for our young children. Now, so when we use the technology, we don't just make prezzies or start a blog or create a word list, or a word cloud, or create a little video of them and their friends having fun, or flip charts. So these are very low-level use of technology. What we want the focus of our student is to use technology as a tool to increase their critical thinking skills, to raise their awareness, to start conversations and network with people, to find answers to their individual question in a more academic fashion, to join organizations, become involved, become responsible citizens in the online world, make a difference, take action, or drive change. So these are like the big picture type of things. One of the things that I would let you know is teachers need to focus on pedagogy and not the technology. If you found yourself fixing the computer, unplugging this, unplugging that, setting up the microphone, setting up the speaker, then that's not pedagogy. You're just getting eaten up by the technology itself. Your teaching has to come first and not after the technology has been introduced. Set expectations clearly. When you sit your students in front of the computers, make sure that they know exactly what they're supposed to do. Because if you sit them in front of a computer with such a vague instruction or broad set of instructions, they're going to be all over everywhere. So you wanted to set expectations clearly. What do you want? Use high quality over high tech. So if there's a technology you're not quite familiar with, what I suggest to you is do it on your own time and become more familiar. Like if you don't know how to use prezzies and you will not have the capacity to guide your students in the use or in the creation of prezzies, then don't do it yet. You yourself must be proficient in the use of that technology before you use it. You don't just use technology just to say, oh, I've used it or I've given it to my students. And then with more technology, it requires more organization. So requires more planning time from your end. But again, just like I said, you put in technology there and you put in the planning part that is required for the technology introduction or technology integration in your classroom, you'll find yourself working less and less and facilitating, simply just facilitating more in the middle of your classroom instruction. Accommodate before you innovate. So all this means is that before you introduce technology, make sure that they are appropriate for your students. They are not supposed to take your place as a teacher, and at the same time, you're evaluating the use of the technology very carefully before you introduce them to your students. The use of technology should allow you to appeal to multiple styles of learning, which includes kinesthetic learning. And then don't let technology make you mechanical. So if you sit the computers and take them to the computer lab and do, let's say, a keyboarding session, you cannot be just sitting on the teacher's computer and then using this software that monitors each screen and see how fast everybody's typing. And then you're just sitting there for an entire hour and you're just looking through a bunch of screens. That's like a mechanical way of you have to be, the technology is supposed to free you up. It's not supposed to tie you down. So that's pretty much what I always tell some of the teachers that's wanting to venture into more technology in the classroom. Use technology to teach and not to entertain. I've seen many teachers do this and make this mistake. No, we're gonna watch this video, or we're gonna Skype with somebody in India. No, not just for entertainment. We're not gonna sit there and watch 15 students in India perform a dance. We are going to incorporate some college and career standards into the activity, and the technology is just going to facilitate it. The technology is not supposed to entertain your students. That's not a very wise use of technology. That's not a very wise use of time in your classroom. To legitimize, you need to personalize. So with more technology, the more time you will have to differentiate your instruction for your students. And last but not the least, if you're planning to introduce technology in your classroom, prepare for the technology to fail, especially if it's the first few times you try the website or first few times you use an app. There's going to be some failures, and you have to expect it. It's just good for your sanity. And then always have a back plan. And what I'm going to show later on for some of the corrections teachers, you can use some of those low-tech alternatives just in case your high technology fails. One thing that I've found online that's really good, if you got a bunch of students that are really struggling with the use of technology, they don't know how to use things, they don't know how to use a search engine, what is an operating system, and they have no idea what's going on their computer when something or a window pops up, or can they use the Office product like Microsoft Word or Excel or PowerPoint? Can they use those types of things, or appropriate use of the social media? One thing that I'm going to suggest to you is to go to North Star, and I'm going to show you this website in a minute. Before I do that, I just wanted to give you a heads up. Before you load the lessons, you must have Adobe Flash Player installed. So if you're using your personal computer, that's not a problem because you can easily do that. But if you're using a district computer, you must get with your technology specialist to make sure that the Adobe Flash Player is installed on the computers. Otherwise, it's going to look a little wonky, and for some of you, it might not even load. So, but this is really cool stuff to get your students started. It's free to a certain point. So all of the lessons and the modules are free. The assessment is not. And you're going to have to do a little bit of research if you wanted to use the assessment component of North Star. But all I'm going to show you right now is how to use this website to improve the digital literacy of your students. So I'm going to escape away from my PowerPoint view, and I'm going to take you to the North Star page. So this is the North Star page. So It's going to have this yellow message up here telling you, okay, your Chrome must be updated. You have to re-enable your Flash sometimes. So this is a little bit of a disclaimer on how you can troubleshoot the problems you encounter with Nordstar. Again, just like I said, it's a free website. It's free module. So I stick, some of my students are not familiar with or not very technology savvy. I sit them in a computer and let them go through these modules. So they've got several modules here. It talks about the operating system. It talks about the internet. It talks about Office and Macintosh or Apple devices. It talks about emailing, what's the proper use of an email, how to set up your email accounts, how to apply for an email account, correspondences, doing research, engaging in an online community, reading bars and graphs and charts, creating presentations, and other safety information in the use of technology. So that's one. If you click, and we'll just pick one, let's say, oh, yes, here, let's launch this module, let's say on the use of, okay, I'm going to allow it for a little bit, and just for you all to see what the module looks like. And this one is on the use of emails. So right now, let me just load that again. So I know now what's going on. Okay, so let me just launch this and allow it all the time. Okay, it's not loading. It's probably because I have not, I'm using my personal device, and it's seeing my personal device as a, it's not going through the firewall, so it's being blocked on my personal device. But if I use my school computer, it will allow it. But let me just describe what you're going to see. When you look in there, it's going to have a video in there. It's going to have instructions, exercises, worksheets that you can print out, which is also good for the people in the corrections, because there's a printable version of all of these digital literacy materials. You can print as many and as much as you want. So, and everything is free, just like I said. Everything in this website is free. The only thing that is not free is the assessment. So it's like an online step-by-step website for your students who are not very tech savvy. So those are the things about the North Star. So let's start with math. What's new with math? Earlier in, let's see, like last year, I introduced to you guys the GeoBoard app and the Numberline app. Well, the Math Learning Center has came up with lots more of apps that I'm really going crazy about. And this goes for both math and language arts, because they also have math vocabulary cards. So first of all, I want to show you this fractions app, which is I'm really getting excited to show you right now. Let me just get to that. So this is the, when you go to the website, the mathlearningcenter.org, you click on the fractions app, it's going to show up like this. So you look like, okay, well, nothing's happening. I don't know. And you're going to have to play around with it a little bit. But on the left corner of the screen, you will see either a rectangular fraction bar or a fraction circle. So you can use a fraction bar, and once you click the plus, it's going to ask you how many parts do you want. Do you want it cut into 5 equal parts, 8 equal parts, 20 equal parts, even 100 equal parts? But I don't suggest you pick that one, because as you can see, the divisions are very small. So let's go back to, let's just say 5 equal parts. And then you can just click OK, or you can type it in here. If the number that you want is not in there, maybe I want 7 equal parts, you just type in 7 and just click OK. So now each fraction, each division here, or each partition here, is now 1/7. And you can color. So this is 1/7, 2/7, 3/7, 4/7, and so on and so forth. You can do the same thing with a circle. A circle, you can drag it outside, and if they start to stack up on each other, maybe I want a circle with 10 parts. We got a pizza of 8 slices, and Joe ate half of the slices. So let's color that. Let's color half. So how many slices would that be? So you get into ratios and proportions, you get into fraction and things like that. You can write if you have a stylus. You can write, you can draw lines, or you can draw lines and add, emphasize the divisions, just like that, or just like this one. What if I want half of that? You can also change colors. You can erase everything that you wrote. You can scribble if you want. So it's really a good tool. Even if you have a smart board, that's even better. Now, keep in mind, you can use this. This is an app. So meaning you can do this using your smartphone. And it's both available on Google Play and on the iOS. Another thing that I'm going crazy about is vocabulary. You know how students, they have very limited vocabulary, especially the ones that are language learners or ELL students. In addition to learning the math, they also need to learn the vocabulary. Well, there it is. Here it is. We've got flashcards of everything here, and you can scroll down on each of the categories. There's K-2 and then grade levels 3 through 5. So it goes only so far between our NRS levels, but it covers pretty extensively. What is an outlier? Let me try that. I want to see that. So uncheck all, I want to do outlier, and I wanted to start with an outlier. See, it shows them an example of an outlier. Well, first it gives them the definition, and then students may have to identify if they have a struggle figuring out what this is. Then you can click on the eye to reveal let's say a picture, and maybe the picture will help the student identify what an outlier is. And then before you can go here, you can go or either give them, sometimes I would just give them the math vocabulary, and I would ask the students, can you draw that on your small board? And then if they draw something very similar to, let's say here, a number line, a line plot, then, and they can show me what an outlier looks like, that's more interactive than a book could ever do. So I'm really excited about this math flashcards, because sometimes if I go into, let's say, a topic, let's say algebra or geometry, I want my students to be proficient in the vocabulary, because when I go into the geometry unit, I want to be just teaching geometry. I don't want to go over so much on the vocabulary. So I sometimes assign so many words for students to practice on every day, and then before they go into class, and then so that when we go into class, then I talk about these things and use this vocabulary words, they already know what they look like or what they are, and they can give me even some examples. So the discussion in the classroom becomes more productive, and thanks to the use of this vocabulary cards. So let's go to language arts. Digital storytelling is not new, okay? So don't get deceived with the title. Digital storytelling has probably been around for about 4 to 5 years. Digital storytelling became popular when we're able to string photos together, and now we can string videos together, and now a lot of video editing tools are very inexpensive. There's some that are for free, actually. So digital storytelling is very cool. We use it in the language arts a lot. And let me just show you how I use this in the language arts classroom. So when you go in and click and go to that website, oh, okay, let me just go back to that one. I accidentally closed the website, so I'm going to click the screen and just, there you go. All right, I have to move this bar. Okay. Anyway, so when you go in, it's digital storytelling. You can read about it, come up with, look at the examples, look at how some teachers use this tool. I always go all the way to, let's say, I just go into the featured story. One of the things I'm really fascinated about, this one is created by Madeleine, and you get a video stories from all over the world, not just in the United States or not just in Florida. So it's all over the world. And I go into this art and I want to use that art as an example. And one thing that I wanted to, that what I do with my students is I train them with in the writing piece. I want them to view the video, read the story behind. There's a transcript that goes with the video, and then you can even download the video into your computer if you don't have internet. Sometimes I would download it to my thumb drive, and then I also have a CD writer. So for the people at the corrections, so if you don't have internet, you can download these videos into your CDs or your thumb drive and bring it with you into the computers in the corrections. And then one thing that I want to point out here is this one's really cool because in this video, it's called The Art as a Way of Thinking. The author takes a stance against the removal of arts in education and provides the arguments and reasons to support reinstating the art in the curriculum. Very hot topic nowadays. And I want my students to write and practice the writing prompt, the writing techniques, the writing guidelines that I've taught them, and practice those. You know, identify what's the author's claim. You know, give me examples of the evidence that you saw in the video. And then lastly, provide some reasoning behind those evidence. Why do you think those evidences are valid? So it's a really cool way for us to practice our writing skills with this digital storytelling. And there's a ton of stories, and it's all over, and you know, it's all over every topic. So you have at it. Now, for some of you that has a little bit more funding to do, Shutterfly is another, it's free, it's a photo thing, but there's also a Shutterfly photo story for classrooms. So again, just like I said, it's an app. You can use it for free. I've read in the blogs and in the comments that it's not so user-friendly, but it's so cool. You can view the video. For me, it's fine. I mean, I use it. I string pictures together, and then we practice writing. So I practice captions and grammar with my students when writing, and then we create our own photo storybook. You know, I think once you create a photo storybook and you save it on your Shutterfly account, you have the opportunity to order a printed version. And a lot of my students, we're very surprised. They paid like $14-15 to get a printed version of their Shutterfly book, and they're so proud of their creation. And we use some of them, and sometimes I ask my students for one copy of his photo story, and I posted it in my classrooms, attach it into my bulletin board, so for everybody else to see and get them excited into writing. There is also a free one if you want really low tech. Microsoft does not support this anymore, but it's still going to be, it still will work in all of your computers. For the people at the correction, you can download this into your thumb drive and install it on the computer. It does not require internet access to work. Photo Story 3 is another way for you to string photos together, add captions, add text, add audio. According to some of the reviews, the video quality may not be as HD or high definition as you want, but it's a start. You know, if you want free stuff, then take advantage of this. Let's look at science really quickly. Science, there's a lot of virtual experiments already loaded online. You just type in virtual experiments, and this is one experiment that I found online. So when we're doing an observation or we're conducting an experiment, what is the hypothesis? Let's create a hypothesis. And in this case, we're trying to determine the rate of photosynthesis depending on the distance of the light from the Elodea plant. So if you go here to this website, I'm going to just show you real quick what this looks like. But when you go to this website, it's not. Let me just copy and paste that real quick, and so that I can show you directly what's going on that website. Apparently my click to, so I'm going to replace the North Star with this. Okay, so here is, oh wow, I do not have Flash. Okay, I always allow. That's probably the reason why it wasn't. Okay, it's loading. Yes, I do have Flash. I remember, because I remember installing it. So now in this case, you have the opportunity to move the bar over here, and then vary the distance of light. And the lowest, I mean, the lowest distance that you can have is 100 centimeters, and then you can move it away or so. And then it's going to give you some instructions here, or if you don't know what to use or what to drag, and then you can also go full screen. Once your students are already familiar with that, then they can start the experiment. Then the experiment instructions are to your left. They can start a timer right here. They can reset the timer. What they're trying to do here is they're conducting an experiment and recording. You see those little bubbles that's coming out of the Elodia plant? That's the number of, that's what they're recording, okay? And then you can have a counter. Your student can use the counter, and every time I see a bubble, okay, I add one, that's another bubble, that's another bubble, another bubble. And so if you want your students, so how many bubbles are there the plant produces in 1 minute, then you can use the counter or the BPM in order to do that. So really cool stuff. And then after we do the experiment, we decide, okay, what is the ideal distance of the light from the Elodia plant in such a way that the rate of photosynthesis is the highest. And then so students come up with their own hypothesis. Sometimes they will say it has to be closer, it has to be further away, or it has to be just the right distance away from the plant. Okay, there's lots of, just like I said, virtual experiments online. There's another one that I found from the Glencoe Virtual Lab. This is the amount of heat generated by different colors of jackets. So students can explore this, and there's a lot of these types of experiments. These are the types of things that they're going to see in the GED test. So you want to practice your students with the use of this technology, and then also implement those science practices that we all talk about in the CCRS and GED workshops. Social studies. There's also, if there's one for science, there's also one for social studies, and this is called iCivics. You're going to have to do your exploration on your own, especially if you're a social studies enthusiast. I bet you'll be the first one going in here. It's an app, it's a game, there's games in there, there's also flashcards in there. You want to talk about the branches of government. It talks about a lot of the civics component of social studies. So I'd like you to check it out and see how it looks. And I use it a lot for my social studies GED class. Just so you know, all of these other technology tools that I've introduced in the past are archived on the IPDAY website. So if you did not or miss out on my webinar on the GeoBoard, there is a GeoBoard video. I've created a quick tutorial on how to use the GeoBoard in dividing and multiplying fractions. There also, I also talked about the Algebra Tile web app, how you can use that. And then the number line app. Those are the ones that I previously covered in my previous webinars. There's lessons there on the IPDAY website that, yeah, lesson plans, talking about technology and incorporating technology on the IPDAY website. Another thing that I want to talk to you about is our webinars. So please stay tuned and keep tuning in into our IPDAY webinars, because we will, in a lot of our webinars, we already cover technology as part of it. It's kind of like the IPDAY way. You know, you do something, incorporate some technology, put a little bit of this in there to give it more current appeal. And then we also have video lessons for some of you that would like. And this is something that if you go into GED AHS lesson, click on, let's say, beginning algebra or algebra, and then you have all these topics. Let's say I just picked formulas, solving linear inequalities. These are online videos, and you click on it.
As we begin algebra, let's take a look at symbols and sets of numbers. The first thing we want to know.
So you have a teacher that's going to walk you through the worksheet, talk to you about other things. So really cool. E-trainings is another thing that you can also find on the ABE website. You want to learn more about the college and career readiness standards. We do have some e-trainings in there. You just have to log into your portal using the upper hand corner of your screen. Lastly, I just wanted to give you a brief summary of what we some key ideas for you to remember. Set some rules with the use of technology. It's not a free-for-all thing for the students. You set the guidelines. Don't let them run amok with the use of the computer. Allow students to share technology with each other. So if you have a proficient technology savvy student and you've got students that has no technology literacy or digital literacy, pair them up so they can share and they can collaborate with each other. Establish a time limit. If you say you're going to be in the computer lab for 1 hour, stick to that timeline. Because if you keep allowing more time for your class to stay there, that's not helping them in the efficient use of technology. They need to stay on task and get the task done within the time given to them. And then require a product. Don't just let them sit there and do a bunch of problems on a computer program. Give them a product. Give them, have their students write down notes or create a summary of some sort, or answer a bunch of questions which pertains to what they're trying to do. Focus the students on the content standard and not the technology. So if they're getting lost in the use of the graphing calculator, then don't use the graphing calculator for them and just use the basic function calculator just to improve on mental math skills. And then lastly, monitor. Monitor your students when they're using technology, because you never know. They might be venturing into an inappropriate site, and you don't want to be the teacher that is caught, or the teacher that is very lax in allowing the students in the use of the technology. I know some of you are, a lot of our schools have put in all these protections and firewalls in the computer to prevent this, but you never know. Our students sometimes are more tech savvier than we are, and we do not want to leave anything to chance. So teachers must circulate around the room and monitor the use of technology with their students. So I'd like to see what you think. We've gotten to the end of this webinar, and I'd like to know what you think. Please go to this website on SurveyMonkey, answer the questions, or if you have a smartphone right now, use your QR code reader and scan the QR code in front of you, and then just answer the questions on your phone. While you guys are doing that, I'm just gonna read some of the comments and questions here. We've got a couple more minutes left. Somebody's asking for ESOL resources for keyboarding. Really cool thing that you ask. We're rolling out a bunch of ESOL trainings throughout the state of Florida, and we have some technology techniques and websites. So please sign up for those, and also sign up for our next webinar on the English language proficiency standards, which is coming up in May. And I'm going to be talking about some technology there. So yes, I did forget about some ESOL to include in here. Another question, Catherine O'Neill, how to incentivize teachers to incorporate technology. To me, I don't really need an incentive. When I see my students very engaged in the content standard and what we're trying to do, because the technology is facilitating that is incentive enough for me. But if you really want more incentives, there are like mini technology grants you can apply for that would let you purchase small pieces of technology into your classroom. If you need more information on that, I can share that with you. You can email me after this webinar, and I can share that in information. Ms. Day asks, are they printable? Everything I have here is printable. And so please, you can use, if there's not a printable version, you can always hit your print screen, okay? And all of that. Anyway, so we've got into the end, and I really want to thank you for all of your positive feedback and your comments. Hopefully you put this, the technology information that I gave you to good use. Stay tuned to more technology webinars. I know all of you like this, and we're going to continue to offer this to all of you. Thank you, and have a wonderful Wednesday afternoon. Thank you for staying in for this webinar. Have a good day.